Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I paint hydrangeas. This is a very simple, easy for a beginner. However much of a beginner you are, you'll be able to do this. So let's get going. I painted a background. I chose blue and green and raw umber, and I mixed in some titanium white afterwards to make it look very misty. And I'm using a liner brush and raw sienna to sketch in my vase and where the blooms of my flowers will be. This is a very rough sketch. It doesn't have to be very accurate, and if you make a mistake, just go over and draw in what you need. The sketch does not show in the final product. I like to paint in odd numbers. I was told it was more charming to the eye, and I like to think that's true, and so I'm painting either 3 or 5 flowers. I haven't quite made up my mind here, and you may not see the entire flower, just part of it poking through, and I think I'm going to be doing 5. There you go, that's the 5th one. And this is a very, very rough sketch. It doesn't have to be that accurate. It's just a guideline to show you where the leaves and the blossoms are going to be, where the vase is, what shape the vase is. Although I'm doing white hydrangeas, they have to have a base color, the color that peeps through and gives you sort of your shadow colors. And I've chosen green for this one, and I'll probably do, in fact, I am doing raw sienna for the next one that we see. And this is just a background color, a base color, if you like. And that's all there is to it. We'll be using white paint on top of this, and very little of this paint will show through, but just enough will show through to give you a depth into the flower. Hydrangea leaves are quite large and leathery, and I don't usually paint the veins in. I let the stroke of the brush paint the lobes of the leaf, and I leave it at that. It really depends on the individual artist how much detail you like to see in your work, and I don't like to see much. I prefer to leave my painting quite loose, and I paint on, for the beginning of the leaf, I paint on this blob of green, and then I pull the stroke in from the outer edge in toward the center of the leaf to give me the lobes of the leaf. Now I'm going to use a filbert brush. That's a flat brush with a rounded edge to it, and I'm going to paint in petals. A filbert makes a great petal brush, and I'm just going to cover these bases with petal shapes. I'm not doing the individual florets at this time. I'm just putting petal shapes on. I've decided that the light is coming from the right, and I'm using a 1/2 inch flat to put the light stroke on the vase. Where the light hits the vase, it will be at its brightest. It will go through the vase, through the water, with the green leaves and green stems in there, and it will come out the other side and it won't be as bright. So the color on the opposite side should have green or blue, whatever you like, mixed into it just to dim it down so that it's not as bright as where the light hits. I'm going to put in the florets. I won't cover the entire bloom with florets, just 3 or 4 on each one. And I'm using a large round. I think it's about a number 6, but I'm not really sure. It's a large round brush to do this. It has a nice point on it and it gives a tip to the petal that I like to see. Someone might like to see a more rounded petal. You'll have to experiment to see what you prefer. It's all those little things that make an artist's work individual to them. I do 2 flat strokes and then a sideways swipe for the petal that we only see the top of. At this point, I'm just getting my mid-tone in. That's the color into which I'll mix a shadow and a highlight color. So it's just the base color that I'm using at this point. I always paint the florets with 4 petals. I think that's how they are. I'm not 100% sure of that. You might want to do a little research if you need to be that accurate. I don't. I'm okay with having florets that aren't quite right. And as I say, I just pull the brushstroke in from the outer edge in toward the center of the floret. And for those flowers that are turned away from us or looking in a different direction, I paint a sideways swipe for the top edge of that petal. I hope I'm explaining this correctly. Give it a go and see, and if you have any questions, just put in the comments and I'll try and answer. For the leaves, I chose sap green straight out of the tube for my base color, and I mixed French ultramarine blue into that for my shadow color. And for my highlight, I'll mix primary yellow and titanium white. I'm using acrylic paints. I should have said that at the very beginning, but I forgot. I've chosen to do a glass vase. Now, whatever is in the vase will be reflected in it. The thing that makes glass look glassy is to be able to see through it. So you see the background and the table through there. And whatever's in there will reflect in the glass. And when the light, where the light catches it, it will be very bright. And where the light goes through and comes out, it will be a little bit dimmer. And as I said, anything that's overhanging, like overhanging leaves, you'll see a greenness in the glass. And it's all those little touches that make glass look glassy. It's not bad. Once you get the idea, you'll find it quite easy to paint glass. I'm using alizarin to paint my stems. It's not the only colour I will use. I'll put some green on there. I might even put some French ultramarine blue or raw umber for shadow. And I put the alizarin on because I feel it brightens up the painting no end. If I can sneak some alizarin crimson into my painting, I will do that. I just like the little punch that it adds to the painting. And when you can put it in places like stems and leaves, it just makes an uninteresting area more interesting for the viewer to see. I find that as titanium white dries, it dulls down a little bit. So I often have to go in and put more white on top of my highlights and my flower blossoms too sometimes. I just like the brightness of it. And so when it dulls down, I have to go in and add to that brightness. Eventually, if you do it enough times, add it enough times, it stays fairly bright. I don't know if there's a paint out there that stays as bright as when you first put it on. I'll have to explore some different paint companies and see what I can find. Don't forget to put that line of raw umber under the base of the vase. That sets it on the table, and I've put a reflection in the table of the vase. I'm not sure I've done it that well today, but it's there. I feel I've put the reflection on the table in the wrong direction. I feel it should be on the shadow side. It should be coming through. It would look more effective on that side as well. But I'm not going to change it at this point. I could do if I had seen it sooner, but I've only just noticed it. And the paint's all dried, and I'm not going to change it. You have to learn to let things go in your paintings, I feel. Otherwise, it just gets too difficult. I let things go and I tell myself I'll do better in my next painting. To put in the centers of the florets, I use a Q-tip and I mix up a yellowish green and I use that for the center color. I'm not sure what color that actually is or if it's just a shadowy gray or blue, but I like to use a yellowish green. I think it looks very natural. And I don't put a dab in every single floret. I choose 2 or 3 per blossom and I just dab that on with the Q-tip. And that's all I do. If you do more than that, the dots can take over the painting, and that's all you see. Well, that's about it for painting hydrangeas. I think I've shown you all the best bits, and I hope you paint along with me, and I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to everyone who has liked and subscribed. That's very helpful. It helps the algorithm find my video among the thousands that are uploaded every day. So thank you for that, and I'll see you next time. I'm still working on my books. I hope they'll be out soon, within the next month at least. And I hope you'll buy them. And thank you very much for everything. Bye for now.